So for those of y'all that think monitoring my phone is going to stop me making videos like the other one cut out, as if I don't have memory on my phone to actually hold a video of this size, it is a lie. And this one's for y'all Sabbath people. Happy Sabbath, y'all. Grunge here, aka The Fits. As I was saying before I got so rudely interrupted, probably the green pants, or like I was saying earlier today, clipping my toenails, looking at my leaf. God put this one on my tongue for y'all today. For y'all out there still keeping the peace, or what y'all believe to be the peace, like that Mary Jane, that marijuana, does make it feel real peaceful, don't it? It used to until they started adding, I guess, that extra seasoning, causing people to not be as totally peaceful as it, I guess, really supposed to make you happy and I wouldn't say exhilarating, but more of a joyous, merry kind of feeling. Like Christmas, except just year round. I have my special preferences of how I used to like to do it. I, by the way, started when I was like 19. 19th birthday, St. Leo College, Florida. First time smoking weed, at least. I tried a cigarette or two, I think, back in like 8th grade at a party. Marlboro Reds, I think it was maybe one or two of them, just to see what it was like. I attempted to try one of my old man cigars back in the day when I was like primary school. I don't know if somebody put pepper on it or something like that, but that shit stung my lip. And matter of fact, first time I think I actually tried to smoke a cigar, that shit knocked me flat on my back. Stronger than any weed I ever smoked. So I used to kind of be timid around them. I never was no big cigar person. Still not. I'd rather my Black and Milds or regular cigarettes. But this one's shout out to my favorite wraps, real wraps. Not the actual fruity kind I see folks got into. It kind of look like a cross between some kind of clothing fabric and a blended cigar leaf. Although I remember suggesting them back in the day for girls who like, they like a little fruity stuff sometimes, flavored stuff. I guess they probably ain't horrible. But my personal preferences, originals, when I first started, we used to call the El Cunos. I think it's like a Cuban cigar, one of the real cheap ones. It's like $1 you can get an El Cuno. And the closest I've found to that, stateside, they had what's called El Producto. I don't know if those was around, I think those were around Florida. North Carolina, I think I might have found some of them around there as well too. But that was what I started. Well, no, I actually started with papers, regular rolling papers. Those are cool. The only thing is, if you're trying to quote unquote hide the smell, those do not mask the smell. If that's what you're smoking, that's what you can smell like. You're smoking the cigars, you might be able to throw off if you got a cigar in your mouth or something like that after you smoke, be able to throw off the smell of your surroundings and stuff like that if you got a cigar lit. And hint, that's what I used to do. Hold one in one hand, smoke in the other hand. Finish with the other one, then you just let the other one just blaze off or finish smoke it off or whatever, just to try and throw off the center of the surroundings. Really sneaky. But next go-tos, when I actually got into them, probably maybe my second year backwards, which kind of became my favorites more so because of the price, and because when you open them and you open them real big, they kind of like almost, you could get probably, depending on how you like to roll yours, 3, 4, sometimes 5, and every now and again they miss and put a double lap on there, so you could probably get 5, 6, 7 little personal joints, like how I used to like to roll mine. By the way, like how I actually used to like to roll mine, you got what they call a US nick. Typically, out of a nick, I could probably get me 2 to 3, I used to call them little tooties. Little mini joints, little personal cigarette size. I roll them to like almost regular cigarette size. Something I could just stick inside my cigarette box or something like that once I actually had them. Keep them nice and fresh while whatever you're doing. So you don't have to sit there and blaze out a whole big joint, and necessarily if you need to have to chew up and swallow it, you only got that little bit and you still have your little stash wherever you have a little stash. So I kind of got into those. So stateside, approved jointage. They got something that they call like Philly blunts. Those are right in a rush. I mean, I got into them probably more or less, once again, probably because of pricing, and when there ain't nothing else around, I couldn't find me a El Producto, then I'd go ahead and roll them. Some dudes, I guess that's their personal preference. I know some guys like that. It's all right, but I think they burn kind of fast. To me, they burn kind of fast, and I don't know if it's got a little off, like a chemically kind of oily kind of flavor. Like sometimes I didn't necessarily like too much. I don't know if it's like headache stuff causes you to get a little headache sometimes, at least with those. So those was my go-tos. I guess North Carolina style. In Florida too, but like I said, it's only when I couldn't really find the El Cunos. When I used to like to roll the big bore joints, the whole neck at one time, playing around with it like it was a toy, sometimes trying to see how big a joint you could roll, doubling them up and all them kind of things. But what else we used to have? There's something I used to call Optimos. They like a greenish kind of leaf. Those are alright too. The flavor ain't exactly the same, but in a rush, I mean, I had me a couple of those too. Not my personal favorites, I said, but they ain't too bad. It's been a while trying to see if I can remember what all we used to do. Aside from having a little, little personal little weed pipe, I tried a bong. I got a little bong and stuff like that. Then I realized you couldn't keep them kind of things on campus. It's real hard to chew up and swallow a bong or a pipe, by the way, if I must say so myself. Not that I've tried, but they got their laws and stuff like that. If they smell it and don't see it, they can't lock you up for smelling like it, because it could have come from anywhere. So that was what I might think. I always keep my little personal chewables. What else? Let me see. El Productos, El Cunos, Backwoods, Optimos, Phillies, Swisher Sweets. Yeah, those was the other ones. They like similar to Phillies. I don't know if they're the same company, but sometimes they might be a little bit bigger or smaller. You just kind of just split them down the middle, and not like you gotta unroll the whole backward and then roll it back like you roll in a regular cigarette. The El Cunos, I used to like. It had like more of a cigar flavor because it was like a double lap. You got the inside paper, which is kind of thick. Roll that first, and then I used to like maybe it's the harder, just actually rolling it, like actually rolling it, wrapping it around to make it look like actual. You can shape it, I guess, how you like it. It kind of looks sort of like ice cream cones. We used to call them cones back when I used to be over there. Gotta roll a cone, roll a cone. Optimals, let's see, who else I'm missing? I only really smoked in Florida and North Carolina. I guess no Maryland too, on my last trip. But I think I got me a pack of Backwoods. It wasn't like I was up there that long. It got me just enough to probably last a week or 2-3 weeks. I was still one pack of Backwoods, and I was solid for 3 weeks. Not that I bought that much weed. I don't know if I bought more than maybe quarter ounce, half ounce. Just like, 2 dime bags, or I don't know, 3 or 4 dime bags maybe the whole time I was there. So typically when I used to burn mines, when the early days, a Bahamian $5 used to be almost sometimes, depending on where you get it, like $20 in the States. Until inflation, I guess, or whatever else set in. And it started dwindling down. But stateside, shout out to y'all stateside. Y'all stay standard. By the way, I still like regular weed. I always say that. Regular weed. I know they got some different ones, but I like my rollables. I ain't always had the money to get them extra special blend kind of things. $90 for, but I ain't not on my college money. I'd rather buy McDonald's. I need to buy McDonald's more than I need to smoke. So them little budget I used to have, maybe $50 every 2 weeks, used to get, I don't know, $200-300 every maybe couple of months or something like that. Sometimes 2-3 months. When I started smoking, I guess it used to be a bit more, maybe every month or two. But kind of standard, $50 a week budget, cafeteria food, when there was cafeteria food that was trustworthy, I should say. Yes, I did eat off campus when I started realizing what I started realizing, but anyway, that's neither here nor there on the topic. Let's stick to the subject. I'm leaving any wraps out. I know we did try a few different things. I always know if you get a regular, actual, like Cuban cigar and you take your time and unwrap those, you get probably a year's worth of weed, like how I used to smoke. I say one of them US Nicks, if I smoke it to myself back in the day, I don't even really smoke that much different back in the day. If I could smoke comfortable, a typical Nick used to last me close to a week. After I started building up a little bit of tolerance, I wasn't always about the fun thing. Oh, let's blaze and see how hard as you could get. The thing about weed, there's like a limit to it. Not like alcohol, you could drink yourself unconscious to death and all them kind of things and all them other stuff people be into. I don't know about all of them, but weed will stop you when you've had enough. You get that cough, you ain't gonna get no higher than that. It's just not possible. So it's one of the safer ones, or the safest one. Hint, hint, Mary loves you. If you're fam, I guess. Other folks have their other theories and opinions. Y'all leave my ma out of that. So, yeah, Mary will stop you when you're doing something wrong. Two, three pulls. That used to be my kind of regular, especially in school days and stuff like that. I didn't need to go in there all blazed up and extra lethargic. Although that stuff only really lasts that much for maybe, I don't know, a half hour at the most. If I really, really tried a zonk out, which wasn't really fun like that after a while. I just used to like the mellow feeling straight through. So the $5, like I said, I used to buy me. Still used to get like dimes or so at a time. A dime a week pretty much used to be my thing. I'd actually be cool with, a dime a week. If I, going out places and stuff like that, moving around a lot more instead of just staying still, that kind of thing, then I could get up to maybe close to a dub, which is like 2 dimes. You get a dub sack, it's like equivalent of like 2 dimes. But on the budget, I was cool with 10 a week and then maybe an occasional beer or two, stateside beer, real cheap. You get a 6-pack for like $3 depending on what you're drinking. 12-pack for like $5 to $10 depending on what you're drinking. Couldn't keep them where I was staying though, not in my aunt's house. That's why I used to go and smoke around the corner in the bush up in the trees, and then come back and smoke off a cigarette on the way back to chill off the scent. She from Jamaica, so I know she looking at me like, boy, I know, fool, where I from. But anyhow, that's my cool aunt, grand aunt. Shout out Annie O. God rest the precious soul. If you rest, and I know my aunt up to some tricks sometimes. She's a real prankster, but missed that one. What else I'm missing? Oh yeah, instructions for those y'all party goers and stuff at that college. They get you. Let's see how much we can drink. Let's see how much we can smoke, and let's see. They don't tell you the ins and outs of mixing up shit. So, Micksology 1 and 2, weed and alcohol do go together very well if you learn how to actually mix and manage it properly. Weed and alcohol etiquette: if you smoking, home and comfortable, you try it out for yourself. Smoke first and then sip your drink afterwards. Do not, and I'll repeat, do not, if you only really drinking just a little bit, then it's all right. But if you're in a comfortable environment, you take your chances. Alcohol is not going to be one of them. So it multiplies the effect. It kind of does a little bit, but it's not like an overpowering thing. That's why green first and then sip afterwards. It'll level you off. If you do it the other way, alcohol, especially if you are already drunk and then you blaze, will tip the scale. Not to say like blood alcohol poisoning and that kind of thing, but you will find yourself drunker and more inebriated than you thought. Like when you usually know you have your quote unquote drink minimum where you know you gotta drive and all them kind of things to the point where you know you could operate a vehicle without having a problem, and then you try and say you're gonna blaze on the way home and you ain't used to it, you'll probably consider not doing it again if you make it home, because sometimes that'll sneak up on you and it just kind of hit you. Like you might feel like blacking out, and that's not something you necessarily want to do while you're driving. So if you get into the habit of, like how I used to do, at least around here, park up somewhere on the beach or something like that. If you're drinking, I used to drive. I mean, just practice driving anyway, just to, you know, as a skill, I guess you could say, trying to hone a skill of driving whilst maybe intoxicated. And I never had no bang ups or nothing like that. And I had been some, not often, but like I say, when you get that mix up, that's when I realized weed first, sip after. I can't really explain nothing about nothing else because wasn't really anything else like that. For those of y'all that I guess do that white stuff, I don't know what to say about that. But I will say, if you're drinking, from personal experience, I actually blacked out one time, college. I can't remember what it was, if I had a back spasm or something that happened where I ended up getting one of some muscle relaxers. I think I maybe tweaked my back or something like that. I don't know if it was from, it wasn't lifting because I wasn't lifting at the time, but for some reason I got a hold of muscle relaxers, and I think I might have had maybe 2 drinks and forgot that you ain't supposed to mix them. Woke up outside, bareback, and a patch of fire ants who had a party all over my body. If you don't know what them Florida fire ants is all about, they sting you, not like Bahamian ants where they just sting and get a little stinging and stuff like that for, you know, a couple of minutes or maybe an hour or so. Fire ants, when they light on your ass, they leave these little like welts on your skin that could be like the size of an actual quarter, Bahamian or US quarter, that swell up and have these little pus heads and stuff like that. And we have like little 5 or 6 little white heads coming out of each one of them. So you can imagine how scornful that actually looks when they cover it all over your body and stuff like that. So you don't want to have no experiences like that. Which is why you got to be careful with that alcohol. It is fun, but it is not to be mixed with stuff that I guess ain't natural to the body. I'll say it like that. Not that alcohol technically is, but it does naturally occur if you let fruit sit around for a while and eat them and you get little whatever. Anyway, I'm not that kind of chemist, but weed, sip. Alcohol, if you're home, you try and practice it out yourself. Learn to, I guess, know your limits in a comfortable environment around people you trust. So you don't necessarily end up having to go and look for your private parts and such when people done tamper with you or whatever, as well as you've been unconscious. If that's, a lot of the times people be doing that. They got this shit around there that back in my day they used to call it the date rape drug, where they put it in, I don't know if they crush it up, put it in your drink, or get you thinking it's something else, popping pills, that kind of stuff, and you wake up and by the time you're walking out of the place, you throwing your flicking panties this way and the next way, ready to go with anything that looks like doing it. Apparently it's something that you don't even actually remember what actually happens, or some shit like that, I think they used to say. So y'all be careful. Spanish fly was a little jokey thing that they used to see in the back of comic books and stuff like that. You could order, send in like mail in orders and stuff like that. But use all them little things, use little pranky kind of stuff. The sea monkeys and all them other kind of stuff we used to get in the back of them old comic books and something like magazines back in the day. Little childish like prank kind of stuff. But I don't know, some people say that Spanish fly used to be a real panty peeler for real. Not that I've ever seen it or used it, but anyhow. Y'all be careful. Folks out there don't be necessarily playing as fair as they used to, and they wasn't playing too fair back in them days, especially when they know all they want to do is try and get you. for whatever meanings of get rid of the means to get in your pants or to try and discard you someplace. Some folks just in what they're supposed to be. So back to peace. Greenery. Mary Jane. I think I covered all the raps I more or less used to use. I've tried shoving, you know, I guess you could say pinching back, but they got these little pipes that look like little mini bats. We just take a tiny little pinch and stuff them in the tip of the little bat, and it's really only good for like, like I used to say, maybe 2 or 3 pulls. But they ain't really big bore, so 2 or 3 pulls is not worth it to me for saying I want to just hold something. For the price of it, I'd rather buy me a pack of wraps or beaties is cool. You get into beaties, you could actually do that with the beaties. Pinch off the 2 tips, swish out a little bit out of the bottom, and take you a little tip and just put it in the back of the beatie and pull that out. That'll smoke out real nice. So for working situations, you need a little pinch. That'll do it. One of them regular mini size beaties, or I don't know if they still make the big ones. Take the little string off, pinch off the 2 very tips, and just unroll it just a little bit, enough, shake out enough of a little, cigarette, which is actually what it is, just a eucalyptus cigarette. That's what it was when I first started smoking. I don't know if they wrap it in something different now, but it looks the same. Cool smell, and it will go up. I mean, it's just, you get you, depending on how much you put in there, you don't say roll the whole thing like it's, haul it all out and try and stuff. Just a little tiny pinch. Regular weed, again. Now, if you like your little exotic weeds, hydro or crippy and stuff like that, you will zonk a little bit more, or a lot more, because those actually are stronger and a different flavor too. So if you're used to regular weed, you'll know you want something different if you come across that hydro or that crippy, because it's a totally different flavor. Nice, totally different flavor for totally different pockets, I guess. One of those days I'll probably get to that point where I could actually get to them kind of things, but at the moment, certain license requirements require that you do not use them kind of things. So, like I said, still looking at getting my Thingam license, airline license, redoing my captain's, my STCW course at present. So that's another one. Operating commercial vehicles, can't get away with it. Private vehicles, ain't no big gonna check. You don't have no blood test for nothing like that. But you carrying people around, or plan to, even just to go into airspace, you need to know how to be conscious and fully capable of manning your vehicle to stay up there, because you can't pull them over and park them on the side of no place weird or strange like flicking 911. You can't park there. Your boat, you could slow it down, stop it, anchor it if need be. You can't park no place other than on the runway and in the shed where you get it from. So, what else I'm missing? I think that's Greenery 101. Matter of fact, that's probably a bit of a master's course or a PhD course for those of y'all who really love it, or if it really love y'all. Puff Puff Pass, still the standard. I don't know, I get into smoking by itself and out of school and not in social surroundings. It still kind of seems like the same thing. It's like it knows what it's doing with who it's doing it with. I see some people pick up weed and smoke them straight back down, like a whole joint at a time and stuff, without stopping. I'm saying, y'all must be flicking angels or something like that. I know my, anyway, I don't know. I have smoked one entire nickel bag joint in my life that I could remember in one go, absolutely, maybe once. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was my earliest days of smoking, and that's when, if you will push it past that cough, that's when you get the little headache. That's when your body's just kind of congested, brain ache, really. So it ain't really necessary to smoke yourself into a headache, especially around people. Oh, see how much you could smoke. Know who you're around who want to see how much you could smoke. That's something you need to know. Around people who like to say, oh, lightweight, this, that, and the next thing. High is high for whoever it's high for. For me, 2, 3, sometimes 4 puffs. If I in a rush, I'll just take a couple, real quick ones. Comfortable sitting. Like I said, my nickel bar joints used to last me if I could roll them all at one time, close to a week. That's with moving around, going wherever, here, there, wherever. Close to a week, sometimes a week. Originally, sometimes a little more than a week. So, bigger bore, bigger buzz. Smaller bore, not much of a smaller buzz, but a bigger bore, bigger buzz. It means you don't have to burn as much technically. But I found if you roll the big bores, you can kind of get the same high out of little small ones as you do with the big ones. You take too much of a big one and you forget to not put it out, it might burn out a little bit more than you actually want to. So you probably just sitting it down and letting it out itself, it'll burn out more than you probably, thought it would. So you probably go through it faster just from not ashing it properly. The little smaller ones, real easy to pinch off and out like a cigarette, so you don't burn out all your smokes. PhD in greenery. I did do botany, so I guess you could say I had a green thumb. Still ain't got my little weed farm or everything together yet, but it's coming. For those of y'all like to spread this, that, whoever, whatever. Oh, he's smoking. Yeah, make sure y'all go let him know who it is y'all telling smoking. If you ain't part of a tribe, you don't know nothing but tribulations. Speak on greenery in the way you have experienced it, not how you read it. My motto know all of y'all. She know me and my daddy. Anyway, I think that should be enough for now. Like I say, happy Sabbath. Keep the peace. If it's still peaceful, I don't know if it's semi-peaceful, then I don't know. That's what y'all know. Y'all extra seasoning folks and that kind of thing. Some of y'all like that shit. I don't know what y'all be mixing it with, but it ain't that addictive if you get the real natural stuff. Some of y'all be just, I don't know, maybe trying to boost sales or something like that, maybe. Seasoning y'all stuff with whatever, who knows. But the real stuff, maybe still addictive, but it's not unstoppable like addictive if it's growing natural and then you got no whatever inside of it. So if you find yourself in that situation where it's a little bit harder than seemingly ordinary to actually, maybe shake it, get your exercise on, which it will actually sometimes inspire you to do. Lubricate your joints and all them kind of things. So sometimes I used to call it WD-40. Secret longevity to training and personal training. Joint stress relief. Joint stress relief. Joint stress relief. Okay. Y'all get the what they call this thing, with that, yeah. Control.